and I tried to get her go for this.
Okay.
Unfortunately,
No
she's
worries. No worries. I think we're live.
yeah.
So I'm just going to start. So hi everyone. Welcome to today's Blue Circle workshop. While we wait for everyone to join in, I will just give you a brief about Blue Circle Diabetes Foundation and this workshop. So Blue Circle is a patient-led community and an NGO for people with all types of diabetes. As a part of Blue Circle's activities, every Sunday at 5 p.m., we conduct a workshop related to different aspects of diabetes. And today's workshop is about different types of pumps that exist in the Indian market today. Between Sanjana, Piyush, and I will try to cover most pumps that are available in the country today. I'm just going to let people join in and wait until everyone joins to start discussing the pumps. Okay, I think as people are joining in, we can start with introducing the three of us. So I can start first. My name is Indrayani, and I'm a type 1 diabetic since the last 18 years. Very recent, a year ago, I started using the 780G pump, and I'm super excited to be speaking about this and also learning about the pumps that Piyush and Sanjana have been using. And I'm based out of Bangalore. I would also like to use this opportunity to point out that we conduct monthly meetups in Bangalore. These usually happen on Saturdays once a month. So if you're in Bangalore, then please feel free to join our in-person workshops as well. Sanjana, maybe you can go next.
Hello, all. I am Sanjana, and first of all, I would like to take this opportunity to thank the Blue Circle Diabetes Foundation for giving me this opportunity to be able to share my experience with all of you. I have been a type 1 diabetic for the past 21 years now, and so far it has been a difficult journey, but in the last couple of years, I've been, able to have a good relationship with diabetes. So, and also currently I'm using a Medtronic 720G pump, which is a sensor augmented pump. I'll be talking more about it in detail. And another fun fact about me is that I'm a new mother to a 1.5 month old baby girl. So, yeah, that's about me.
That's lovely, Sanjana. Thank you so much. Piyush, maybe you can introduce yourself and Ovi as well.
Yeah, thanks, guys. So, yeah, first of all, really thankful for Blue Circle for organizing these kind of workshops, right? We all know that how the condition is there in the in globe, that every diabetic person who is suffering from this is really in need of a good guidance on how to manage this particular condition. So yeah, I've been a father for OV since 2011. She's 13 now. OV was detected in 2020 February, first week, and since then this is fourth year, right? So been using pump for the last 2 years now. I think she is the first one to get Ypsomed pump in Pune, We were given trial for this, and then we thought probably depending on budget, I think we should go for it. So that's how we have been using pump OB for the last 2 years now.
For everyone, thank you so much, Piyush. For everyone's information, Ovi was supposed to join us today as well, and she was going to talk about her pump, but unfortunately, she's not feeling well. So I think Piyush can, share his experience as a caregiver of someone who's Ypsomed pump. So I think for everyone in the audience who's been hearing these strange words 780G and 700G and Ypsomed, I would just like to take a couple of minutes to explain what we are talking about. So, as anyone with type 1 diabetes, we are insulin dependent, which means that on a daily basis, we need to inject insulin to keep functioning and to keep eating our food. So, for that, there are three primary methods that you can inject insulin. One is the classic syringes, which you all must have seen at some point in your life, where there's just a syringe, and then there's a thing at the back that you press, and then the insulin gets delivered. These syringes usually have needles, and every time you want to take an insulin dose, you just prick the syringe, and you deliver the kind of dose of insulin that you would like to. I have unfortunately never used syringes, so I don't have one on me. The second kind of insulin delivery system is an insulin pen. I happen to have one here. So the pen is basically a sophisticated syringe, where here also you have a needle, and you can kind of decide how much insulin you want and then inject this into your body. The third type, which is what we'll be focusing on today, is an insulin pump. The difference between the first two types versus an insulin pump is that the pump is constantly attached to your body, and you just have to dial the dose that you want, and it just injects it into your body using a pipe like structure. So, this is my pump, and this is sort of a small pipe that connects it to my body. So these are the three types of three ways in which you can take insulin, and a lot of people want to understand how insulin pumps work, and even are considering buying insulin pump. And the information out there is not as clear when you're about to buy a pump. This is a problem that even I face personally, where I had to speak to a lot of people, and I wish I could have just listened to one such session, which is a concise information of all the insulin pumps that are today available in India. So all three of us are using different pumps, Ovi, Sanjana, and I. And so we'll just give you a quick summary of the different features of each one of our pumps, and make sure that you have enough information to make a decision. We'll talk about the pros and cons of these pumps. The point to be noted is that we'll only be speaking about pumps that are available in India today. So I think we can start with Sanjana. Sanjana, can you explain which insulin pump you're using? What are the key features of this pump? Pros and cons? Maybe even the one-time cost, the monthly cost. Is it easy to use? How did you make the decision of buying this pump over the other pumps? And if there's any CGM integration.
Sure.
Thank you
So,
so much.
as I mentioned, I have been using the Medtronic 720G pump, and I got this last year, December. The reason for me for upgrading to this pump was because my old one had broken, and sadly, I got no support for that because the pump was out of warranty. So, I had to go for one pump. So, I was stuck between deciding between Medtronic 700 and 720G. I would just like to tell that the reason I chose 720G over 700 was that So the one-time cost, what I paid for 720G was 2,85,000, for which I got a 25,000 discount. The MRP was 3 lakh rupees, and I got it for 2,85,000. The 25,000 was the exchange value for my old pump. If I would have gone for the 700 pump, then I was getting no exchange value. So I was convinced that by paying some amount extra, I was getting a sensor augmented pump. Now, coming to the features of my existing pump 720G, it, as I mentioned, it is a sensor augmented pump, but it only works with the Medtronic sensor, which is a Guardian 3 sensor. Uh, I won't be able to tell you the difference between the Guardian 3 sensor and a Guardian 4 sensor because I'm myself not aware.
I
But
can
mine,
cover that, don't worry.
okay, so mine works with the Guardian 3 sensor, and so the pump reads the values of the sensor, and it also has a feature of giving you an alarm when your levels are going above or below the specified limit. So the limits are set in the pump. I guess it's the basic 80 to 150. I'll have to double check, but that's the limit. And every time it also shows us the the your sugar level is moving. So, say if sugar levels are rising rapidly with a double arrow, just like we see in the Libre sensor, it will pump, it will show a double arrow moving upward, and the alarm would start, pointing out from that point itself that you might be going high. And once you reach that level, it will keep alarming in every 5 minutes, unless you take a and switch off the alarm, or say that, okay, I've taken note of it and I've taken a adjustment unit. And the same works if your levels are low. So that is one good point about it. But frankly, at times I've been annoyed with these alarms as well, because middle of the night, I understand that my sugars might be near the borderline, not really going above, and keep bothering you, and it would disturb your sleep. So
So
sometimes it has.
sometimes it has
Okay.
okay.
Then once
And
and
once
Sanjana, I'll quickly interrupt you here to just tell the audience that, while I'm having this discussion with Sanjana and Piyush, if you have any questions, you can write them in the comments, and we will try to answer as many questions as possible. Yeah,
of course.
please continue, Sanjana. Yeah.
So coming
um
to point of view,
just
one the last for about
for
7
about
or
or
25.
25,
Also, you can
you can
extend the life of
the
the
life
material
of the
by 7 days.
this
I did
for
14 days for about 25. And the cost of the pump, one time cost, uh,
Sanjana, you're not clearly audible. Your voice is breaking.
let me see.
Yeah.
Okay. Is it any better?
Yeah. No. I think the
No?
same thing is happening where in between there's.
Okay. Let me just try to reconnect once.
Yeah. While Sanjana joins, I can just give some context of a few of the things that she's talking about. So these numbers 710, 720, 700 are basically the different versions of Medtronic's insulin pump. So Medtronic is one of the companies that manufactures insulin pump. Most pumps today in the Indian market, in fact, are Medtronic. And then there's Ypsomed, which is a Swiss company. So 700, 720, 780, these are all the different versions of pumps manufactured by Medtronic. And that's what Sanjana is referring to.
Okay. Sorry, guys. So I was discussing about the cost of using that pump. So the one-time cost, as I mentioned, is lakh 85, plus the 25,000 discount that I got. For the consumables, I spend around 5,000 rupees a month for the reservoir and the quick set, and insulin cost is separate. I currently use Nova Rapid in my pump.
Yeah. So
Talking
let's
about
highlighted the cost because that's a quite an
yes,
important aspect for most people. So you said that the total cost of 720G, which is the pump which is connected to a sensor, is 2,85,000, right?
right.
And how much do you spend on consumables and insulin?
Consumables, I spend about 5,000 rupees a month, approx value.
Okay.
And this is excluding the cost of the test strips and insulin, of course.
Yeah.
And for insulin, I guess I spend about 4,000, but I'm not really sure because
And what
I
about?
buy
Oh, okay.
bulk.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
Right. And what about sensors?
Sensor for ideally 7 days it costs about 2,500 rupees, but
Yeah,
if we extend it for 7 more days, so 14 days 2,500 rupees, that comes to 5,000 a month.
got it. Got it.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Uh,
Yeah, you can continue.
So the cons for the pump that I would like to say is that one very important factor, the reason for getting this pump is being sensor augmented. But frankly, for me, I did not find the Medtronic sensor to be that easy to use as a Libre sensor. I mean, it is a little complicated to put on, and with the way it is structured, the way it is put on your arm, if you're trying to extend it, it gets all the more difficult. So for that price, I find a Libre sensor much easy to use.
Yeah.
And after my first batch of Medtronic sensor, I actually stopped getting the Medtronic sensor and I switched to Libre, depending upon my need. So if you ask me, I'm not really making use of the one feature my pump has
Yeah.
over and above the basic feature.
Yeah. Right.
And another thing, so I don't know if it is the case with all the new pumps in the market these days, but in my old pump, so when I used to press bolus, you used to press OK and the bolus used to get delivered after dialing the number of units. Here we have additional checks to ensure that you are in your 100% senses to take the insulin. So that sometimes gets difficult for me because otherwise I was just used to dialing the numbers, very easily through my pocket or through a screen. But now I have to be paying full attention. I understand it's a pros as well, but sometimes it's annoying. And talking about the battery life, this pump uses the uh, Duracell AA battery, and it goes on for about 20 to 30 days. Overall satisfaction for this pump, I would say it's a very good pump. In case you're looking for a sensor augmented pump, and you like to have that control, that anytime you're going over and above, you need to be alarmed, especially in durations where you tend to forget. Exam times for kids, I mean, that's really important when you're in school, so your caretaker or you can have knowledge that you're not in range. And other times, of course, it might get annoying at sometimes, but it's
Or you
definitely
can
a
still
very good. Yes.
another. Yeah.
So yeah, that's about it. If you have any questions, please let me know.
Yeah, so I think there are some questions. Sanjana, if you're fluent in Hindi, someone has requested that please answer it in the combination of English and Hindi.
Sure.
My Hindi is not that fluent, but I'm going
No,
to.
no, I am very fluent in Hindi. It's my mother tongue. Yeah.
So some user has added some questions here. They have written 8 to 9 questions, but I think because of the word limit of Facebook, I can only see about like 2 questions.
Okay.
Uh, when did you buy this pump? Is it available in India? Does the pump automatically give you a correction dose? And can you set, I think all these will be answered, but can you set your desired sugar level threshold after and above which it will give a correction dose? So, Sanjana, in your pump, are you able to change the lower and upper limit within which you would prefer to keep your sugar levels?
Uh, I am just double checking that because It's been some time.
Mm-hmm. No worries. So until then, maybe you can answer. Did the company give you a trial of the pump? And if
No.
yes, how many days and in which
तो
city?
आई गो अबाउट इट इन हिंदी. ये बहुत ही मतलब मेरे को इस बात के लिए बहुत दिक्कत हुई. मैंने कंपनी से बहुत रिक्वेस्ट किया था दैट मेरे को पता होना चाहिए कि मैं इतना पैसा खर्चा कर रही हूँ तो मैं क्या ले रही हूँ. बट देवर मतलब एकदम साफ मुंह पे उन्होंने मना कर दिया कि मैम इसका तो ट्रायल हम देते ही नहीं है. और जब मैंने अपना पहला पंप लिया था 5-6 years डाउन द लाइन, तब मेरे को 1 week का ट्रायल मिला था. एंड महंगा पंप है. इट इज़ अ एडवांस्ड वर्जन, बेसिक वर्जन नहीं है. तो मैंने रिक्वेस्ट किया था बट मेरे को ट्रायल नहीं मिला था. सो दैट वाज मेरे लिए बहुत ही मतलब इट वाज अ टाई ब्रेकर फॉर मी, डील ब्रेकर फॉर मी.
Yeah. So I think thank you so much, Sanjana. I think we'll keep shuffling between the pumps anyway, but I'll let Piyush, take about 5 minutes to explain the pump that OV is using. For everyone's reference, this is Ypsomed, which is another company than Medtronic, and in fact, I haven't seen that many Ypsomed pumps. So I am personally also very excited to understand OV's and Piyush's experience using the Ypsomed pump. Please, Piyush, go ahead.
Hey, thank you. Right, I'll be using in combination of Hindi and English. Just let me know अगर किसी को कोई दिक्कत आ रही है इंग्लिश में समझने या हिंदी में समझने. I'll try to answer. मैं आंसर देने की कोशिश करूंगा in both the languages. दोनों लैंग्वेज में यूज करता हूँ. Let me see how can I justify and quantify my comments. Okay. So I have few questions already in my place. I'll just quickly मैं उनको read करता हूँ and then I'll try to answer all those questions, right? So मैंने ये पंप लिया था. I think I was in May 2022. 2 साल पहले मैंने ये पंप लिया था और ये फर्स्ट पंप था जहाँ पे when we were referring OV's doctor. So she told about this pump. उन्होंने पंप बताया कि एक नई कंपनी आई हुई है Ypsomed मार्केट में. I think we should take a trial. ये ट्रायल लेने के बाद we will be able to understand कि Medtronic बेटर रहेगा या Ypsomed बेटर रहेगा. So we have got the trial for both the pumps. दोनों हमने 7 दिन के लिए यूज किया. Medtronic पंप का मुझे थोड़ा सा दिक्कत ये लगा कि थोड़ा सा बल्कि थोड़ा सा हैवी था फॉर बिगिनर लाइक अस. थोड़ा सा हम लोग को बल्कि लग रहा था, थोड़ा सा अनकंफर्टेबल था ड्यूरिंग हर स्लीप. थोड़ा सा दिक्कत आ रही थी उसमें. एंड Ypsomed पंप बहुत ही स्मॉल है, बहुत ही छोटा. इट्स लाइक और क्रेडिट कार्ड से या मोबाइल का एक हाफ जो डिवाइस रहता है उतना साइज है. और इसका टच स्क्रीन है. इट्स वेरी गुड. लुक एंड फील बहुत अच्छा है. नो हार्ड एजेस so that it actually doesn't give you any kind of hard feeling when you are sleeping, when you are carrying around the pump. So that's how I liked it. And because उसका user interface अच्छा है, that is a touch screen, you can just navigate like how do you phone, आप जैसे आप phone use करते हो. इसलिए मुझे थोड़ा सा पसंद आया. और अगर हम देखें
अंडरस्टैंडिंग which आप कौन सा Medtronic का पंप कंपेयर कर रहे थे Ypsomed से, because Medtronic has a lot of different versions. So do you remember by any chance कि आप Medtronic का कौन सा पंप
I don't remember the Medtronic pump का जो version है. I think it was basic only, which was semi loop if I'm correct.
Okay.
So I don't remember probably which Sanjana mentioned. I think वही वाला होगा if I'm correct. So unfortunately I don't remember the number, but it should be 720 if I'm correct. But anyways, yeah. So apologies about that. So it's very good. I purchased it for 275 as because it was our first pump in Pune. I think there was a discount given. Not sure अभी उसका price. I think it's going 3 as of now. Probably, but you can talk to the distributor here, and then probably can buy from there, get a trial from there. I think उसके बाद हमने जब purchase किया, there are quite a few members who are using in Pune. I think 3 या 4 डायबिटिक पेशेंट्स हैं वहाँ पे जो Ypsomed का पंप यूज कर रहे हैं. So that is it. बैटरी इसकी AA या AAA लगती है. I think AAA लगती है, but it goes for around 2 to 3 months easily.
And Piyush, can you also
So
explain the sensor connectivity of Ypsomed?
yeah, I was about to come. I was about to come to that. So sensor connectivity is because it is semi-closed loop. Basal can be scheduled, right? So basal, it's like when you want to give a long-term insulin, that can be selected and that can be scheduled on hourly basis. So for an example, if I have to give 30 or 35 points during the whole day, अगर मुझे 30 से 35 पॉइंट अगर हम मुझे पूरे पूरे दिन के लिए देना है तो आई कैन स्केड्यूल इट आर्ली बेसिस में. अगर मुझे पता है कि मील्स के पहले मुझे ज्यादा देना है तो आई कैन स्केड्यूल ऑन पॉइंट बेसिस ऑल्सो. सो 0.1 0.2 उस हिसाब से भी मैं सेट कर सकता हूँ. और एक और फंक्शनैलिटी है जिसमें you can schedule it step wise. So what does that essentially mean is कि अगर मैं कोई प्रोटीन खा रहा हूँ and I know कि प्रोटीन के बाद मुझे 1 या 2 घंटे के बाद स्पाइक होता है, right? कार्ब से immediately स्पाइक होता है, simple carb से. If I'm having a protein food like a chicken or egg or something like that which spikes at later stage, 1 या 2 घंटे के बाद स्पाइक होता है. So I can schedule it the insulin delivery in that manner. सो आई कैन शेड्यूल इट कि 1 यूनिट 1 घंटे में दूं या 1 यूनिट 2 घंटे में दूं. आई कैन शेड्यूल इट दैट वे एंड इट एक्चुअली कीप्स रनिंग in addition to the basal which I have already given. So basal मैंने पहले सेट किया हुआ था, उसके on top of it on addition मैं ये भी सेट कर सकता हूँ. So that's very good.
Are you?
Sensor connectivity.
I was about to ask.
Sorry, Indrayani, yeah.
Yeah. I was about to ask about the sensor connectivity, but please
Okay.
go ahead.
So sensor connectivity, because this is semi-closed loop pump, they don't have sensor as of now. It's just the pump that they have provided, and we are using Libre Pro as an
Okay.
sensor connectivity on that. But these are two different, aspects altogether. So sensor से हम लोग reading लेते हैं, then accordingly we give the correction dose, right?
Got
So
it.
there is no integration with it right now, and I have not explored any other integration as of now because filhal to because as a beginner we are just still
Yeah.
keeping it very simple, and we really don't want to complex it.
Yeah.
uh, because I have already told the pros. On top of it, if I want to suggest you on the cons, I think एक ही con है अभी फिलहाल because it doesn't give any alert, right? So every
Yeah.
time you have to rely on sensor for
Yeah.
getting your readings. So
Yeah.
अगर वो alert mechanism हो जाता, I think that would have been great. But as a caretaker, for me, it was very much needed. Ki if she's reading or taking flash monitoring, then probably I should also know what her readings are. So for this,
Yeah.
I have integrated Blue Circle app. So whenever she's using her CGM Libro Pro, then I can get a reading on my phone also. So
That's great.
that's very good. That's very good in terms of for the last 24 to 40 years, I'll 48 hours, I'll get the reading. So
Got
even if she is high or low, I can get the reading. I can see कि उसने last time कितना उसका कितना reading आया था, and accordingly I'll check myself. I can download the extract of or the dump of the readings also, right?
it. And
Insulin
monthly
में
consumables also, if you could.
yeah, sure. So insulin के लिए हम Novorapid use कर रहे हैं as suggested by our doctors. That's how it is. And for insulin, I'm spending something around 4,500 per month. It varies actually because she is growing right now. So I believe अभी फिलहाल 6 से 7 या 8 जो इंसुलिन हम पेन फिल्म लोग यूज कर रहे हैं, it might grow up in the future. Consumables पे आने के लिए there are two things that we have to procure. One is the quick set, basically the cannula, which actually delivers, which actually sits on your skin, and second is the tubing. Second is the reservoir where you fill the insulin. So cannula or quick set के लिए we are spending 4,000 per month. It has actually a 10 cannulas in the box. It needs to be replaced by 3 to 4 days each cannula, each quick set. And for the reservoir, it needs to be replaced for every 8 to 9 or 10 days maximum. So quick set is $4,000, and the reservoir comes for around 1,700 as of now. There are no discounts फिलहाल उसके लिए. So almost 5,000 for the consumables and 5,000 on insulin. So that's how it is.
So one quick clarification, Piyush and Sanjana, if you're here. So Sanjana mentioned that she did not get a trial for 720G, but I think you said that you for the Medtronic pump that you used, as well as for Ypsomed, for both you got a 7-day trial, right?
Yeah, I did receive.
Okay, so maybe then the pump that you got was probably not 700, 720,
Maybe.
is my understanding. It could have been 700 because I had the same experience as Sanjana where they refused to give a trial. And I think
Yeah.
the primary reason for that is for 780 at least, that because it's an ML based pump, it will
Mhm.
take in your individual data, and it's very specific to your readings and your body and your dosage. And the moment they kind of give you a trial, a pump that I have tried cannot be simply passed on to you because it already starts recording my data. And
Okay.
because it's taking correction doses and injecting insulin based on my data, it will sort of have to be overwritten. And that's the reason 780 was not available for trial.
Mhm.
And from Sanjana, I understand 720 was also not. But you're
So
saying improvement, yeah,
So what I was told when I asked for 720 trial was that uh, the basic pump that I was using, I don't remember the model. It was
yeah.
like same thing, it's just sensor augmented. So there is no difference. So the salesperson tried to convince that there is no difference. So what do you need a trial for? And that is why the company is not giving a trial. So
So, from what I understand, the basic model, which is the Minimed, or like 700 today, or back then it was I think 722, and if it has had different name, but different names, but Medtronic has a very basic pump model which just does insulin delivery. So you can set the basal and bolus, and any Medtronic pump that you try to buy for trial basis, they will only give you the basic pump for
Yeah.
trial. So the main reason for this is they want you to get used to the patch that sits inside your body, or filling up the reservoir, or getting used to how to dial on the pump. So that basic model का ट्रायल आपको मिल सकता है, बट वो आगे जो एडवांस पम्प्स है उसके ट्रायल्स मेट्रॉनिक नहीं देता. बट पीयूष, आप जो बोल रहे हो यिप्सोमेड का पम्प ट्रायल हो सकता है, देते
Yeah,
हैं
yeah.
वो.
तो या
ठीक
आई
है.
मीन मेट्रॉनिक का जो था, जैसे मैंने आई मेंशनड अर्लियर, वो बहुत ही बेसिक पंप था. आपने जैसे बोला इंद्रायणी, प्रोबेबली उस वही पंप मुझे ट्रायल के लिए भी दिया होगा, बिकॉज इट वाज जस्ट अ बेसल डिलीवरी पंप. इट वाज नॉट द एमएल डिलीवरी मॉडल.
Yeah.
सो या या और इप्सोमेट का ट्रायल आपको मिल जाएगा. आई
Yeah.
डोंट थिंक सो दैट दैट विल
So
बी.
both Ypsomed, so I think to conclude this one point, right? I think both Ypsomed and Medtronic, you can try the basic pump. Ypsomed, I think, just has one
There is only
version.
one
Yeah,
version, right?
but
Yeah.
Medtronic has a comparable version which just does where you can set your basal and take your bolus. So you can try that. That's what they give you for trial to get
Mhm.
used to the concept of pump. But if you're trying to get any of the advanced pumps of Medtronic, like 720 or 780G, you will not get those particular pumps for trial, which I would say is a significant, it's actually pretty disappointing because these pumps are very expensive, and you would
Yeah.
want to try the actual pump that you're going to buy before making the purchase. But yeah, I think this. I just wanted to establish this before moving on. Yes, Piyush, you can continue with the other
Yeah.
points.
So, other than that, let me just read through any other questions. Yeah, there is just one distributor probably in Maharashtra right now. So I don't have any issues procuring any consumables. There was one issue happened with one pump, which it was promptly replaced. I think within within 1 year of use, they had a warranty of 4 to 5 years, 4 years probably, if I'm correct.
Mhm.
So it was promptly replaced, right? It doesn't need any connectivity, internet connectivity to play. So
Yeah.
you just have to get the reservoir filled with the pen fill or the vial, I have not used Wild. In fact, I was trying to use the Wild. Probably it might give some more discounts in using insulin, no rapid insulin. So I'll check that later. So फिलहाल के लिए you just have to refill the pen pill and
Yeah.
you can start using it.
And sorry, Piyush, maybe you have already given this information, but what is your monthly consumables cost again?
Yeah, it comes to just consumable. It comes to 5,700 to be exact.
This includes the quick set and reservoir and
Yes. In
insulin as
fact,
well.
insulin is different. Insulin
Uh,
is separate. It is 4,500 to 5,000 as of now, right?
mhm. Yeah,
Uh,
I think everyone spends approximately, like, I think upper
Same.
limit 5,000 for insulin a month.
Yeah.
That's standard unless you're using the generic version.
Mm.
But I don't think the generic version of Humolog is available. The one that you get in Jana Aushadhi Kendra, which is the, but I have never used it because I have only been using Humolog and that's not available. But I'm sure there's information on our website about generic medication, and maybe we can direct you to that blog. But yeah, Piyush, if you want to cover anything else, then please do otherwise.
Um, no, yeah. I mean, the only con of this pump is that alert nahi milta aapko, so you have to keep
Alert.
your
So it's not
reading
connected to
in
sensor.
check. Yeah,
Yeah.
and चूंकि semi looped hai, so accordingly you have to take the bolus points, right, for every meal correction. So
Yeah.
वो यही दो पॉइंट हैं जो एक्चुअली इज इट्स लाइक अ बिगनर बट
Yeah.
आप जैसे ही बढ़ते जाओगे आप एडवांस व्यू में जाओगे तो अकॉर्डिंगली आपने जैसे बोला इंद्रायणी दैट इट विल बी ऑटोमेटेड डिलीवरी ऑल टुगेदर राइट सो अगर आपका हाई जा रहा है तो ऑटोमेटिकली आपका इंसुलिन डिलीवरी विल बी देयर ऑन करेक्शन बेसिस और आपका लो जा रहा है तो दैट विल स्टॉप योर इंसुलिन. So
Yes.
yeah,
Yes.
these two functionalities are not there in the Ypsomed pump, but I was okay with that because I was a beginner and because pump cost was under my budget, although it was fixed, but then I had to because I
Yeah.
10 बार 6 बार आप prick करोगे daily to get the readings and then injections, so it was too much for Ovi at that
Yeah.
time.
Makes sense. Makes sense. So I'll just take up some questions before explaining 780G. But thank you so much, Piyush, for taking us through your experience with Ypsomed. I'm sure this is super helpful for anyone who's trying to.
Yeah, OV is not well. Otherwise, I would have loved to have OV and explain herself in order to get all these answers because I think she will be more clear in expressing her and sharing her experience on that. But
Yeah, yeah. We would have also loved to hear from Obi
yeah,
as well.
maybe next time for sure.
Next time, yeah, sure. So just to clarify some of the questions, so I think Nupur has sent the blog on Jan Aushadhi Kendra and diabetes on a budget in the comments here in the chat. Now I think there are a couple of other questions. Yeah, I think one really sort of concept that I wanted to explain is one user has asked, does the pump deliver both basal and bolus since the injected pen for these are different diets and Tresiba? So I just quickly wanted to take this question. So for anyone who is on syringes or on insulin, they take one which is fast acting insulin and one which is slow acting or long acting insulin, right? So Lantus and all of these are insulins that we take, let's say, once every 24 hours, and it lasts for anywhere between 18 to 24 hours based on the exact insulin that you're using. So I think yeah, there's some difference, but
Uh,
yeah,
Sorry, Tresiba works for more than 24 hours,
more than, yeah, there is,
to 30 hours or so. But
yeah,
then, so
yeah.
that's a long acting insulin.
Correct, correct. So those are the long-acting insulins, and then whenever you're, having a meal, and that's when you use the short-acting insulin, which are all of these Humolog and Novorapid. All of these are short-acting insulins, and this is how it goes if you're on syringes or on insulin or on insulin pens. What happens in a pump is that the work of Tresiba or Lantus, which are the long-acting insulin, is almost replaced by microdosing of the same insulin that you take for boluses. What that means is your insulin pump contains only one type of insulin, which is your Humalog or Novorapid, any of the short acting ones. and every minute or every hour there's a small amount of the same insulin that the pumps automatically keep injecting in your body, and that acts as your basal. So in a pump you need only one type of insulin because of the same reason. So I think this was a great question to be clarified before we go on. Okay, so I'll quickly, take a couple of minutes to explain 780G. So Medtronic had a couple of years ago in India, I think it's been 2 or 3 years, 2.5 years, that they released this their latest pump, which is called the 780G, and they also call it almost as artificial pancreas because it is a closed loop system, which means that the pump is not only connected to the sensor, but it also takes action based on the reading that your sensor is giving. So that it kind of does three things. One is it gives you an alarm if your sugar levels go beyond a particular number or below a particular number. Second, it will stop injecting insulin or start or kind of reduce your basal if it thinks that your sugar is slowly going down. And then the third thing is, if you're at a high, which is, let's say you're at a 180 and your target range is 80 to 120, then it will slowly inject small boluses to bring your sugar level within the range. So the main difference between what Sanjana is using and what I am using is that Sanjana's pump will just give an alarm and likely even stop injecting insulin once sugar levels go below a certain range. Whereas the 780G will also take corrective action, which is it will inject small amounts of boluses to bring your sugar levels to your set range. So now so this is the main way in which the pump works. There's a sensor. I have covered it with blue tape, so you may not be able to see it, but a sensor that you can put on your arm or anywhere on your belly or lower back. And then you have this pump where it also shows you the glucose reading. And then if you go, like, it also shows you the graph and how much insulin the pump has been injecting. So this is the main sort of mechanism of 780G. The pro is, let's say I have a dinner where let's say I have a late dinner and I do not take the correct amount of insulin required to burn the kind of food that I ate, and I'm super tired and I go to sleep. In my let's say 2 years ago, when I did not have this pump, what would have happened is, let's say I go to sleep and my sugar is 180 and it keeps on increasing. There were times when I woke up with a 280, which means throughout the night my sugar was likely very high. But today with the 780G, because it takes corrective action, even if my sugar is, let's say, 180 while I'm sleeping, it will keep injecting micro boluses and make sure that by the time I wake up, the sugar level is in range, which is why on most days I am waking up with a 90, and that for me is the biggest advantage. That I don't always like when I'm not awake, I don't have to bother with, oh, did I, like, should I take 4 units of corrective bolus or 6 units or 2 units? Will I go in hypo, or would this be enough to bring down my sugar from 200 to 80? So I think that for me is the biggest advantage of 780G. The biggest disadvantage of 780G is downright its cost. It's extremely expensive. It takes it takes a lot to operate on this pump. The one time cost of 780G today is 6 lakhs, but if you've been a Medtronic user, then they give you 1.5 lakhs discount and you get it for 4.5 lakhs. In terms of the monthly costs, you have the quickset and the reservoir, which remain the exact, and the insulin, which remains. These three costs remain the exact same for any Medtronic pump that you're using. The quickset costs around 5,000. The reservoir costs somewhere around 3,000, and insulin is again 4,000 to 5,000 depending on how much insulin you consume. So that's 5 plus 5 plus 3, that's 13,000. And the sensors per month cost me, and this is where it gets really tricky. I am using G4 sensor. With 780 you can use G3 or G4. G4 per month it's costing me around 12,000 approximately. So I end up spending anywhere between 20 to 25,000, including everything, including the reservoir, quickset, insulin, and sensor. um, and I see a lot of people asking what is the difference between G3 and G4. So G3 and G4 are the sensors that Medtronic sort of uses with the pump. G3 requires you to calibrate every 12 hours, and G4 does not require calibration. That's the primary difference. G3 honestly was a nightmare. It was not, I did not have a great experience with G3, because every time I calibrated, let's say there was a difference between what the sensor value was and what my glucometer showed. And if that difference was very high, the sensor would often fail, and I would have to replace the sensor, and that would be a big hassle. That has significantly reduced for G4. There are a few tips and tricks, of course, that you need to follow, that Medtronic helpline guides you with based on what is the exact problem that you're facing. But I think overall on the Medtronic sensors, I think I strongly agree with what Sanjana said. I have been a user of Freestyle Libre sensors for the longest time, and I think they're great. They are cheaper, they are more effective, they are more robust, they stay on longer. I don't know about the accuracy as much, but whenever I used to use it, it was great. I wish Medtronic had a Libre sensor or a provision to attach it, or made a sensor that was as good as the Libre. I still swear by the Freestyle Libre sensor, but unfortunately, I can only use Medtronic sensor with my 780G pump. And I think from my experience of 1.5 years of 780G, I think the advantages of using the pump for me personally outweigh, switching the sensor. So I think it's been a really great experience. um, I see a lot of questions, so now I'm just going to go through the questions. I bought this pump in India in 2023, April 2023. It is available in India. It does give you automatic correction dose. And yes, you can set your desired sugar level threshold. Mine is 80 to 130 is what I've set. You also have to set an average glucose level, which we have three options in this pump: 100, 110, and 120. I have kept it as 100. Initially, when I was trying to understand the working of the pump, I thought that if the average is 100, that means that it will constantly try to go to 100. But lately, I have realized that the algorithm does not exactly work like that. So I'm many times at 85 and at 90 and stable. So it doesn't always try to sort of take it up to 100. Did the company give you a trial of the pump? No, they did not give me a trial of the 780G pump. I really wish they did. The one thing about Medtronic that's good is their distribution system is really widespread, and it's pretty smooth. In most cities, you can get your consumables in 1 or 2 days. I use Humalog in the insulin. Mm,
So there is
and
one question, Indrayani,
yeah,
coming up,
yeah.
that whether we are using one or two types of insulin in the pump, in our pumps.
Yeah, yeah.
So
So I just explained that, but basically, if I'll just quickly repeat that in pumps, you can only use one type of insulin. This is because the same insulin acts as basal and bolus. And the way it does this is because the pump is always attached to your body. Microdosing of the same insulin is basically acts as bolus. So there's only one insulin. One thing that I would like to highlight for anyone who's interested in buying a 780G pump is, and I cannot emphasize this enough, is one, you get a 4-year warranty from the company Medtronic, but this warranty only works for software damages, which means that if you hit your pump against a stone or if there's physical damage because of which the pump stops working, then the warranty does not cover this. But there is a way around this. Medtronic has partnered with one insurer where you can separately pay. That cost is around 4,000 per year, which is not that much for the kind of benefit that you get in comparison. But if you get that physical damage insurance, then your pump gets replaced for free even if there's physical damage. And the reason I would like to emphasize this is because the pump itself is so expensive that you almost cannot afford to lose it within a year or two. And I recently got my pump replaced because of the same reason. I had it hit some bench, and there was a crack in it, and the whole process was pretty smooth. I got it replaced for absolutely no money, got a brand new pump. So that I thought was a great pro for this pump. Are there only a few shops and distributors? So the I think this question is already covered. I think the distribution of consumables or the pump for Medtronic is pretty widespread. You can get it very easily in most cities in India. And I think one question that I want to answer is for 780G, you don't need internet for the pump or the CGM to operate or to even talk to each other, because it's a combination of NFC technology and Bluetooth, both of which don't require internet. So your pump is going to work absolutely fine in a flight of 10 hours. It's going to do the corrections, it's going to give you alarms. The only time that internet comes into picture is when you're trying to check your readings on the phone. So in addition to the pump, in addition to seeing it on the pump, you can also see the readings on the Medtronic app. So that's the only thing for which you need internet, but otherwise you don't need internet at all.
Apparently, probably there are a few questions if you can
Yeah,
answer.
I'm trying to go through all of it, but please,
I mean,
please
there
go
are
ahead.
too many questions here. That there was one suggestion also, if I can read it to you.
Yeah.
Where do you put the infusion set? Which insurance company is this? And G4 price, it lasts for 7 days or more.
Yeah, so
These
I
are two
think
questions.
so I think for G4, right, like G3, G4, all of Medtronic sensors last for 7 days, and indeed you can do extension. I have personally not given extension a fair try. The main reason for this is, as you all might have experienced in the extension phase, sometimes the readings that you get are not accurate. There's always a chance that those readings are, slightly off. And because my pump injects or does not inject or stops injecting insulin based on that value, I prefer to not do the extension. But I think I've done it once, and I continued with it until it gave me some off values and stopped. So unfortunately, I haven't really tried this very often enough to give you a definitive answer on whether G-force can be successfully extended or not. But I'm planning to try this myself, so I would be able to answer in a few weeks maybe.
And which insurance company is this? That
So
was also.
when you buy the pump, the Medtronic, their helpline will suggest, or your whoever is helping you out, Medtronic representative should suggest the physical insurance company. But the reason I wanted to put it out here is many times people don't know about it, and so definitely ask your provider, which is the company that they have tied up with.
Absolutely worth to take that insurance for sure.
Yes.
Right. And there were two more questions. If you can read it, in the
Yeah,
you
Do you
get
get
the.
a discount if you buy? No, unfortunately, they don't give any discounts whatsoever. I wish they did, but also the sensors are so expensive that I don't know if buying it in bulk would like they give you a box of 5 sensors, and I think that costs 14,000 if I'm not wrong. So I usually just get a box of 5 at once. But no, so far as I like in Bangalore, at least I have not received any discount on any of the deliverables. Though the only discount that I received was when you buy a new pump. I think they give you one box of quick set and reservoir for free. That's pretty much it. So I think it's 5:58. I'm going to give like 5 more minutes to for people to ask any questions, or I'll also try to go through the questions that have remained unanswered. Where do you put the infusion set? You can put it at multiple options. You can put it anywhere on your abdomen. I think the suggested location is like 4 fingers around your navel, like away from that. But you can also do it on your lower back, on your buttocks, also on your thighs. So there are multiple options for where you put the patch on your body. 780G हमें बोलस बेसल सेट करने की ज़रूरत होती है या नहीं? हाँ, so for someone who's asking in 780G हमें बोलस बेसल सेट करने की ज़रूरत होती है या नहीं? क्या वो सेंसर रीडिंग के थ्रू इंसुलिन सेट करता है? Yes, for most part you cannot set basal on 780 in fact, even if you want to, because the way 780 works is, let's say if right now my sugar is 124 and going up, then based on that it will detect the trend and it will calculate as per its algorithm how much insulin to inject, and that's how the decision making is done. So every few minutes there is a decision that the pump makes, that okay, I'm going to inject 0. 0.4 units so that her sugar comes down from 124 to, let's say, 100, just to give you an example. So you cannot set basal on 780. It does its own work. The only manual intervention required in 780G is when you're about to have a meal, because there's no way the pump can understand if you're going to eat 4 rotis or 2 rotis or 2 eggs. So based on the kind of meal that you're about to have, you give a certain amount of bolus. But if you've gone wrong with the bolus, then the pump will do its autocorrection and bring your glucose level in line. The one thing that this pump cannot do, which I think Sanjana and even Piyush, I think you mentioned, is this concept of square bolus, where, if you're in a buffet or if you're eating something that is going to keep releasing sugar for like a very long time, then this concept of square bolus, this pump cannot do when it's on auto mode, and auto mode is when it's doing its own work, right? Sending auto correction boluses, stopping. But there's also a manual mode available for 780G, where let's say you don't want the pump to do its own work, you want to have control of the amount of basal that you're setting, the amount of bolus that you want to give, then there is an option to just switch off the auto mode, and then the pump will act exactly like Sanjana's pump 720 does, and then you can have a square bolus option. Someone has posted a question saying, can you explain about insulin absorption issue with 780G? My husband has been using 780G and has been facing absorption issue. I'm not very sure what you're referring to here, but if it's about you dialing a load of insulin on the pump and that not getting absorbed, then it's likely an issue with the patch. And Medtronic quick sets, which is the patch that goes inside, is infamous for getting kinks, which means when it goes inside your body, it bends. Let's say because there's some hard mass that it encounters. But yeah, you can post this question in detail, maybe on one of our on Facebook, and I'll try to answer that in detail later on. Piyush, are there any more questions?
I think there are two questions which might be of interest. Is that what's your TIR time and range, Indrayani?
HbA1c improved considerably after switching to
Second
780.
is, did your HbA1c improve considerably after switching to 780? So
I would say yes. I I would say that my HbA1c, at least initially, lately I have not done it for a few months. So I think, but when I switched, I was definitely tracking. I think two things to be noted, right? One, yeah, there's definitely an improvement in my HbA1c. But another thing that specifically happened for me, and this might vary from person to person based on how your glucose levels or your control was before and after you go to 780G. I also used to go into a lot of hypoglycemia before I switched to 780G, because I would always overcorrect because I didn't want my sugar levels to, go very high. But then, like we all know, there is no balance in type 1 diabetes. Either you're too high or too low. And if you want really stable graphs, the only way is to, kind of be on a low carb diet where you're consuming high protein and high fat diet, low carb diet, because of which your body is able to maintain stable glucose levels. I wasn't doing that, because of which my sugars were, you know, like I was experiencing way too many hypos. After switching to 780G, because my hypos also decreased, it was good, but in the way it reflects in your HbA1c is your HbA1c increases if your hypos decrease. So I think it was a combination of these two things, but yes, it definitely improved after 780G.
Yeah.
But I
In
think
the
I just,
conclusion,
yeah, yeah, go
sorry,
ahead.
I think in the conclusion, Purun, probably because we are almost on top of the, is
Yes,
that people might be there in this particular conversation is, should we really switch to pumps?
I
If
was
yes,
about to go to
what
that.
are
Yeah,
the items that we should, because the same thing was into my mind also. Shall we switch it to the pump because it's a cost, it's a cost to our pockets. So that is what probably we can just discuss on that. But before
yeah.
that, quickly on your TIR in Rani, there are two more questions on that. Your time in range.
My time and range. Oh, it's different every day, but it's 90. But my range is also 80 to, um, yeah, it's around 90%, and my range is 80 to 130. But then that's also one more problem. I don't want to go into the depths of this right now. But even if I've set my target as 80 to 130, I think the TIR that it calculates is by default 80 to 180, which is something I'm not very happy about.
Oh,
Because I don't want to know my TIR. And so I think that's the reason it's always like 90-95%, because my TIR, because the by default it shows you
hmm.
80 to
So
180 as your range, but I don't want 80 to 180 to be my range. I have
obviously,
actually set it as, this is a bit complicated, but when my sugar levels start going beyond 130 is when my pump starts auto correcting, because I have set my range as 80 to 130. But when it's displaying my time in range, the range is something you cannot change. It will only tell you what your time in range was for 80 to 180. So that's sort of the, but between 80 to 180, it's there for like 90-95%.
yeah,
That,
probably
yeah.
worth checking for the next time.
Yeah, yeah. And
Yeah.
also, so one last disclaimer that I just wanted to give here is, you know, I chose to do this one because I, was able to, and I was just like too tired of doing everything manually. I wanted to really sort of reduce my manual intervention for diabetes. I've had it for 18 years, and I was like sort of done with it. But I would kind of want everyone on this call to understand. It's not necessary to switch to a pump to have great sugar levels, to have a great HbA1c. And I think Nupur is a great example of this. Nupur kind of went backward and is now on syringes, not even on insulin pens. But she has been able to do a really great job with just syringes and low carb diet, and has an absolutely fantastic sugar level, HbA1c, and she does not use an insulin pump. So I just want to make sure that we conclude the session knowing that the basics of diabetes remain the same, which is to eat less carbohydrates, to eat more protein, to eat more fat, healthy fats, and to kind of exercise and make sure you keep checking your sugar levels. it's not like switching to a more advanced technology does not guarantee good sugar levels. In fact, lately I've observed that because of 780, I have really slacked off my diet. And I'm, so that's also something which happens where you think the pump is going to take care of everything, and it does not do everything for you. So, yeah, I just want to sort of make sure that, you all understand that it's not essential to spend a lot of money just to have good HbA1c. It can be done even on a budget of 5,000 a month, 10,000 a month, whatever syringes cost. So yeah, I think that was my concluding remark. Piyush, let me know if there's anything else you want to say. Otherwise, I'm going to.
No, I think I'll just have this whatever you have just mentioned in Hindi, probably just for the sake of
Yes,
audience,
sure.
right?
Yes, please.
तो अगर आप सोच रहे हैं या पंप में जाना चाहिए, आपको पंप में स्विच करना चाहिए, तो व्हाट इंद्रायणी एंड आई हैव आल्सो थॉट अबाउट इट कि जब तक आपके बेसिक्स क्लियर नहीं हो कि आप अगर सिरिंजेस ले रहे हो और उससे आपका HbA1c और आपका बेटर कंट्रोल हो रहा है, आप यू आर एबल टू मैनेज इट प्रॉपरली, अगर आप सिरिंजेस से कर पा रहे हो, पेन से कर पा रहे हो, तो बहुत अच्छा है. एंड देन फॉर अगर आपको लगता है कि नहीं अभी थोड़ा सा हार्ड हो रहा है और आपको कन्वीनियंस चाहिए, देन प्रोबेबली यू कैन think about of switching to pumps, because then आपको पता रहेगा कि आपकी बॉडी का आपका जो रिएक्शन है, किस खाने से, क्या करने से आपका कैसा आपका ब्लड ग्लूकोज आपका बढ़ता है या कम होता है, और उसके हिसाब से प्रोबेबली आपको स्विच करना चाहिए पंप से. और यही चीज मैंने भी किया. बट मेरा एक्सपीरियंस ऐसा रहा है कि अगर आपको पंप भी मिल जाए ना, और अगर आप प्रॉपरली कंट्रोल नहीं कर पा रहे हो, तो पंप का कोई वैल्यू नहीं है, कोई वर्थ नहीं है. सो आप पहले समझ जाएं कि आपकी बॉडी कैसे रिएक्ट करती है किस चीज से, जैसे मैंने अभी जैसे बोला, एंड देन मे बी यू कैन आप स्विच कर सकते हो पंप के ऊपर अकॉर्डिंग टू योर बजट.
Yes.
So that's the conclusion point. Maybe I can. Uh,
Yeah, I think we've pretty much
that's
covered
pretty good.
all the questions. But if the audience has any further questions, अगर आपको और questions है, तो आप please Facebook पे post कीजिए, and we will try to answer your questions there. But thank you all for joining, and most importantly, thank you to our panelists, Piyush and Sanjana, for volunteering to conduct this session. Like I mentioned, if you all have any other questions, I'm sure I've not been able to, answer a few questions. Please feel free to post it on Facebook. And I request all our audience to follow us on social media, including LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and see you all at our next workshop on Sunday. Thank you so
Thank you
much.
so much, Indrani. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Piyush.